If you've been swept up in the drama, romance, and elegance of Bridgerton, you're definitely not the only one. The show has captured a huge audience with its charming characters, lavish costumes, and heart-fluttering love stories. From Daphne and Simon's swoon-worthy beginning to Anthony and Kate's intense chemistry, and most recently the adorable evolution of Colin and Penelope, each season has brought something special. Now fans have more to get excited about because Netflix has not only confirmed that Bridgerton Season 4 is on its way, but also that the series will continue with Seasons 5 and 6. That's a bunch of future scandal, romance, and Regency flair to look forward to. So let's talk about what we know so far about Season 4, who's in it, what it might cover, and where things are headed next. Ever since Daphne's season ended, she's been largely absent from the show. And while it's understandable that her story was mostly wrapped up, it still feels a little odd that she didn't return, especially considering how central she was in the beginning. She didn't even show up for Colin or Francesca's weddings, which feels like a pretty big deal. With Season 4 likely focusing on Benedict's love story, chances are she'll miss his wedding too. That's disappointing, sure, but maybe not a total disaster for the season as a whole. Season 4 already has a ton going on, even without Daphne. It's shaping up to be a busy installment because we'll finally get to see Benedict's story with Sophie unfold. Their romance will probably take center stage, but it's not the only plot on the horizon. For instance, Eloise and Francesca's stories will start to take shape since they're next in line. Plus, Anthony and Kate are expecting a baby, which is bound to bring a whole new dynamic. So even though it might sting that Daphne won't be around, there's plenty to dive into. When it comes to the cast of Season 4, there's a strong mix of returning favorites and some fresh faces. Luke Thompson is back as Benedict, with Yerin joining the cast as Sophie. We'll also see Jonathan Bailey and Simone Ashley return as Anthony and Kate, Golda Rosheuel continuing her role as Queen Charlotte, and Adjoa Andoh back as the always wise Lady Danbury. Claudia Jessie's Eloise, Luke Newton's Colin, and Nicola Coughlan's Penelope are also confirmed. Meanwhile, Hannah Dodd, who took over the role of Francesca, is sticking around, which is important since her story is starting to get more attention. Now, even though Phoebe Dynevor, who plays Daphne, isn't part of this season, there's still hope she might return down the line. One season in particular really needs her, Francesca's. That's because Daphne and Francesca actually have a lot in common. They're both thoughtful and graceful and were chosen by Queen Charlotte as the diamond of their debutante seasons. But because Francesca was barely around in the earlier seasons, we never really got to see her interact with Daphne. Bringing Daphne back when Francesca takes center stage could add emotional depth and finally give us a sisterly bond that the show has barely explored. Another compelling reason to bring Daphne back for Francesca's future season is that her guidance could be incredibly helpful. Without giving away too much, Francesca's story isn't exactly smooth sailing. She's going to face some major emotional challenges, and having Daphne by her side could bring a much-needed sense of support and warmth. It could also give the two actresses, Hannah Dodd and Phoebe Dynevor, a chance to develop that long-missing sisterly connection on screen. As for whether Daphne will ever return, it's not out of the question. In early 2025, Phoebe Dynevor mentioned in an interview that she's open to coming back. She hasn't been asked just yet, but she's available and would be happy to step back into Daphne's shoes. So there's hope. It all depends on what the producers decide for future seasons. Now, looking even further ahead, we're expecting that Eloise will likely get her own season next, possibly in Season 5. However, the show might not be able to stick closely to her book's storyline. That's because the Netflix version of Eloise is wildly different from the one in Julia Quinn's novels. In the books, she ends up falling in love with Sir Philip Crane after a series of letters they exchange following the death of his wife, Marina. They eventually marry and she adopts his children, but this version of Eloise, the one brought to life by Claudia Jessie, doesn't exactly seem headed down that road. For one thing, the show's Eloise is far more outspoken, rebellious, and independent than her literary counterpart. She's been portrayed as someone who challenges norms and values her freedom above all else. That makes the idea of her settling down with someone like Philip, who in the books is honestly not the greatest partner, seem a little off. In fact, if Netflix did follow the book to the letter, it might feel like a betrayal of everything we've come to admire about Eloise's character. There's also the issue of tone. Eloise's book story is full of heavy, even depressing themes. It touches on grief, loneliness, and the weight of unexpected responsibility. That might not sit well in a show known for its breezy tone and romantic whimsy. Plus, viewers who have seen the show's portrayal of Marina might feel it's unfair to have her exit the series just to make way for this storyline. And when we look at how Eloise has developed in the show, it's clear she's not someone who's rushing toward motherhood or domesticity. That's not a criticism, it's just a different character path. So it would make more sense for the writers to craft a unique storyline for her that better matches her TV personality, rather than trying to force her into the plot of To Sir Philip with love. Another big reason for that change, Philip Crane, the love interest in the book, doesn't exactly measure up when it comes to being a fan favorite spouse. In fact, many readers consider him the weakest of the Bridgerton love interests. And since we've only seen brief glimpses of him in the show, there hasn't been much groundwork laid to make audiences root for him. If Netflix is smart, it'll take this as an opportunity to reimagine Eloise's romance into something more empowering and fitting for her modern voice. All in all, Bridgerton Season 4 is going to be packed with romance, drama, and new developments, even without Daphne in the mix. Benedict and Sophie's story promises to bring something fresh and magical, while the groundwork will be laid for future seasons focused on characters like Eloise and Francesca. Daphne may be sitting this season out, but her presence still lingers, and her potential return for Francesca's arc could be a beautiful, emotional moment that fans will absolutely love. And even though Netflix hasn't officially renewed Season 5 just yet, let's be real, it's practically guaranteed. The show's popularity is only growing, and with so many characters still waiting for their turn in the spotlight, there's a lot of story left to tell. Each Bridgerton sibling has a different path to love, and fans are more than happy to follow along for the ride. So even if Daphne is not around for Benedict's wedding or Eloise's season changes course from the books, one thing's for sure, there's still plenty of romance left in the ton. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop, and if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.